You see, all of us in the Christian life will come to periods when things seem to be going wrong. Things don't work out the way we feel they should. Maybe we're short of money. Our friends have let us down. The things we were expecting haven't worked out. And what do we do? How do we respond? Peter says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6, "Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time." So things are not going the way you expect. What do? You humble yourself. You say, "God, I don't understand what's going on, but I know you're perfectly just. You never make a mistake. What you're doing is right. I submit to your dealings. Teach me what I don't know. Help me to learn what I need to learn. I'm willing to learn." See, God dealt that way with Israel when he brought them out of Egypt. He permitted them to go through things which were designed to humble them. I just read 2 verses from Deuteronomy 8, verses 2 and 3. Moses said to them, in retrospect, after they had finished their journey through the wilderness, "You shall remember that the Lord your God led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So he humbled you, allowed you to hunger, and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know." So how did he humble them? By allowing them to go through times of apparent need and insufficiency, and when their main carnal desires were not being satisfied. Why did he do it? What was his purpose? To humble them. Did he succeed? No, he didn't, really. As far as the generation that perished in the wilderness, they didn't humble themselves. They complained, they murmured, they rebelled, they blamed God. Now listen to me. When you're going through a hard time, don't complain. Don't murmur. Don't say, "God, I can't take this. You're not treating me right." Because you're missing the purpose of God. The purpose of God is to humble you. If you will humble yourself, then God's purposes will be fulfilled. I remember the first time that God specifically spoke to my first wife, Lydia, and me. We had to leave Israel. We came as refugees to our own country, my own country, Britain. We were without a home. We had a family of 8 girls, and they were split up in different homes. And we were miserable. And God spoke prophetically and said, "Humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God." I have to admit, it took a long while for me to do it. But it's good advice. When things are going wrong, when you don't get what you want, when it seems that your prayers are not being answered, what do? You humble yourself. God, the fault isn't yours. Show me where I'm wrong. Show me what I need to know. Teach me. I want to learn. I want to be obedient. I want to be submissive. There's another scripture that's been impressed on me in Job chapter 7, verses 17 and 18. This is an amazing passage of scripture. "What is man," it's addressed to the Lord, "what is man that you should magnify him, that you should set your heart on him?" Do you know that God has a magnifying glass? And he scrutinizes us through his magnifying glass. He doesn't just look at us the way we are, but he brings everything into magnification. And then says, "What is man that you should visit him every morning and test him every moment. Did you know that? Did you know that God visits you every morning? Are you prepared for his visitation? What happened when God visited you this morning? Were you even unaware that God was visiting you? And then it says he tests man every moment. We are continually being tested as to whether we'll be faithful and obedient or rebellious and disobedient. Now you have no options. God doesn't say, well, if you permit me, I'll test you. God tests you. God tests me. God visits me every morning. I try to be ready for his visit. I try to get myself into a frame of mind where whatever he has to say or whatever he wants to change, whatever correction or new direction he wants to give, I'll be ready to receive it. One thing I've seen is that God means exactly what he says. He doesn't exaggerate. Everything that he says is absolutely correct. A lot of us, I think, read God's contracts without reading the fine print. Suppose you had an automobile accident in your car. You go to the insurance company and you claim, and they say, well, who was driving? Well, our daughter was driving. How old is she? Well, she was 24 at the time. They say, our conditions state specifically, no driver under 25. So what are you going to do about it? We're not going to pay your claim. You mean just that difference of 1 year? That's right. That's exactly the way it is. And that's the way it is with God. He means exactly what he says. When he lays down conditions, they're not approximate. They're not generalities. He's absolutely specific as to what he requires. So I suggest some of you need to read the fine print once more. Because you're saying to yourself, well, God didn't deliver. He's saying you didn't meet the condition. You didn't read the fine print. I want to say something too about waiting, which is very closely tied in. I think one of the most humbling things we have to do is wait. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verses 9 and 10, Paul says of the Thessalonians, you turn to God from idols to serve the living and true God and to wait for his Son from heaven. It's interesting. What does the Christian life consist of? To serve God. Most of us would accept that. Have you noticed the other part of it? To wait. To wait for his Son. You see, I believe that Jesus is coming back for a church that's waiting. I believe that in the providence of God, there will be a period when we'll simply be waiting. When it'll no longer be serving. We'll have done all that. But having served, we have to wait. What does waiting do? I'll suggest two things. First of all, it's a mark of faith. You're waiting because you believe God is going to intervene. You picture a group of people on a road. Some are there aimlessly, they're just standing around, they're walking up and down. But there's one man who's there because it's a bus stop. And he's different. He's there at a specific time, at a specific place, and he's looking in a specific direction. He's waiting for the bus. He has faith. He's different from all the other people on that road. The second thing that waiting does is it shows us our dependence on God. And I think here is one of the most important lessons that we have to acknowledge, gladly acknowledge, we're totally dependent on God. If God doesn't turn up, the whole thing is a failure. And so waiting as part of Christian discipline is first of all an expression of our faith that God will do what He says He will do in His time. And we cannot dictate the time. And secondly, it's acknowledgement of our dependence. God, I can't do it. If you don't do it, it won't happen. I have to wait. How long? We don't know. I don't know whether you ever realized that when God submits you to a test, He very seldom tells you how long. Have you noticed that? I mean, if you were to say, if you hold out for 6 months, you'll get what you're waiting for. That would not be difficult. But He doesn't. And we don't know whether it's going to be 6 months or 6 years. And at the end of 5.5 months, we say, well, this is no good. I might as well give up. And we're just half a month away from what we were waiting for. See, the essence of it is what? Dependence on God. I want to close by reading a familiar passage from Isaiah chapter 40. I believe this is for the people of God in the United States at this time. I believe God is asking us to prepare the way for Him to visit us. I believe God will visit the church in this nation. I don't say He'll visit the nation, but I believe He'll visit the church in the nation. And we don't know when He will do it. That's in His sovereignty. But He says, you have to get ready. You have to prepare the way. And this is the instructions. These are the words that actually were quoted about John the Baptist when he was preparing the way for the coming of Jesus. Isaiah chapter 40 verses 3, 4, and 5. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough places smooth. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. What's the end of the promise? The glory of the Lord will be revealed. All flesh will see it. But what are the steps of preparation? How do we prepare the way of the Lord? We have to remove the barriers in our lives that keep God from being and doing what He wants. And there are 4 changes that are spoken of. Every valley shall be exalted, lifted up. Every mountain and hill shall be brought down. So the low things have got to be raised up, and the high things have got to be brought down. All our hype and our exaggeration and our boasting and our super spirituality, that's got to come down. I have a relation of friendship with the editor of Charisma magazine, which basically Ruth and I read every month, some of it. I said to him some time ago when we met in Britain, I said, I think the articles in your magazine are good. But I said, after I've read the advertisements, I feel I need a bath. I don't know that you could ever find a more continuous display of self-glorification than is found in those advertisements. And that is basically the keynote of the charismatic movement. Self-glorification, self-exaltation, self-promotion. All that has got to come down. God will not make his way through that. And the low things, the things that people really almost despise today, like modesty and chastity and self-effacement and being willing to serve and just to be in the background, those things have got to be lifted up. Are there crooked things in your life? How about your dealing with money? Is there crookedness there? How about the way you fill in your income tax return? It's not difficult to cheat on an income tax return, but it's crooked. And God says, if you want me to visit you, you've got to straighten out that crookedness. Then the rough places have got to be made smooth. Your egoism, your tendency to react angrily when things don't go the way you want, when you're challenged, when somebody disagrees with you. Do you have rough places in your life? Argumentativeness, self-justification. When it's not my fault, he did the wrong thing. Our church is all right. It's the other churches that need to be straightened out. All that, God says, has got to change. I believe God is in the process of changing. I read just before the service a prophecy that was given by Bob Sutton, I think a week or two ago, in which he said to expect trial, tribulation. It's coming. It's come to some people. There are a number of ministers that I know who have been through almost incredible tests. But if we don't pass the tests, we won't be ready to receive the revelation of his glory. The glory of the Lord will be revealed. Do you believe that? I do. Because God keeps his word. He's faithful. But it will be revealed only through those who've met his condition. The mountains have to come down. The valleys have to be exalted. The crooked places have to be made straight. The rough places have to be made smooth. I believe that's what God is doing. I believe I can say, and this is my understanding of God, that he's working that now. It's on his agenda for the church in this nation. And you and I are going to have to determine whether we'll be channels for his glory or whether we'll be mountains that hold it out. I believe that this is what's being worked out in the church. In Good News Church. And God will do exactly what he said. Where we meet his conditions, his glory will be revealed. And where we refuse, He will withhold His glory. I do believe there's a time of testing coming for the church in this nation. I don't know exactly what form the testing will take. But God does visit man every morning and test him every moment. And God never uses anything or anyone who's untested. So if you want to be used, you have to be tested. And if you pass the test, you will be used. And let me say, the testing doesn't end the first 5 years of your Christian experience. I've just completed 50, as I told you, and I think the tests have been harder this last year than at any time in my previous experience. But by the grace of God, I want to say this carefully, I believe I've passed the tests up to this time. That doesn't mean I've arrived, but it means I'm in line for the next test. I don't have a plan to finish this message. In a way, I don't want to make it too easy for you. I mean, I could say now, if you really want to pass the test, lift your hand and I'll pray. But I think in a way I'd be fooling you, because it takes more than that. It takes a real inner determination that is not arrived at simply in a moment at the end of a meeting. An inner determination. My own attitude is, Lord, I've been in this way 50 years. I don't want to miss what's coming. I don't want to drop out now. I don't want to lose what I've worked for. I want to be there at the end. So how about you? Why don't we just settle for a few moments of silence? And I invite you just to shut yourself in with the Lord in the light of what I've been saying, and make your own decision or commitment. Or if you're not able to make a decision, then ask God, help me to make the decision. Bring me to the place where I can make the right decision.